Welcome back to Movie Recaps 12. Today we are recapping the movie King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. The movie opens with the kingdom of Camelot under siege by the evil sorcerer Mordred. Mordred commands an army of enormous war elephants and wields dark magic, aiming to destroy Camelot and seize power. His elephants crush through the walls, while his sorcerers cast spells that decimate Camelot's defenses. King Uther Pendragon, the ruler of Camelot, rallies his knights and prepares for battle. Determined to stop Mordred's assault, Uther knows the only way to counter Mordred's dark sorcery is by wielding the legendary sword Excalibur, which grants him unparalleled strength and magical abilities. Using Excalibur, Uther fights through Mordred's army, cutting down soldiers and blasting through magical barriers. The sword glows with a supernatural light as Uther swings it, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The power of Excalibur turns the tide, and Uther reaches Mordred in a climactic confrontation. Mordred hurls magical fireballs and energy to overpower Uther, but Uther deflects the attacks with Excalibur's power, cutting through Mordred's magic. With one final strike, Uther decapitates Mordred, ending the battle instantly. The dark sorcery collapses, the war elephants fall, and Camelot is saved. After the battle, there's a brief moment of celebration. Uther's victory solidifies his status as a hero, and Camelot seems safe. However, Uther's brother, Vortigern, has been plotting in the shadows, envious of Uther's power and desperate for control. Vortigern makes a deal with dark forces, sacrificing his wife in a ritual to gain magical powers and setting his plan to overthrow Uther into motion. We see Uther grab his wife and young son Arthur and tries to escape. However, it's too late. His wife is killed and falls into the ocean. Then, the events are not clear until later. It ends there and moves on to young Arthur in a boat. Young Arthur is carried down the river, completely unaware of his royal lineage. He eventually washes ashore and is found by women who work in a brothel in Londinium. Raised by these women, Arthur grows up tough, street-smart, and scrappy, learning to survive in the underworld of the bustling city. Over time, Arthur becomes a part of this world, hardened by the harsh reality he grew up in. He learns to fight, negotiate, and lead. His closest friends, Backlack, Blue, and Wetstick, grow alongside him, becoming his loyal allies. Together, they engage in petty crimes, protection schemes, and run small operations that allow them to survive and thrive in the dangerous streets. Meanwhile, Vortigern, now king of Camelot, grows increasingly paranoid and powerful. His reign is marked by fear and oppression. He uses dark magic to cement his rule, including the construction of a massive tower that serves as both a symbol of his power and a conduit for the dark forces he commands. The people of Camelot live in fear under his rule, but Vortigern knows one lingering threat could still undo him: Excalibur, the sword of Uther Pendragon, still embedded in the stone. Legend says only the true heir to Uther can pull the sword from the stone, and Vortigern knows that as long as Excalibur remains, his claim to the throne is not secure. Vortigern orders his soldiers to round up men of Arthur's age, hoping to find the true heir and eliminate him before he can become a threat. Hundreds of men are brought before the sword, but none can pull it free. However, Arthur's life changes dramatically when, during a routine raid, he is captured and brought to the stone where Excalibur awaits. Like many others, Arthur is forced to try pulling the sword from the stone. The moment Arthur touches Excalibur, a surge of magical energy courses through him. His hand, almost involuntarily, pulls the sword free from the stone. The power of the sword overwhelms him, and Arthur collapses. Arthur wakes up in a cell where Vortigern visits him, telling him that he must die to ensure Vortigern's rule. Vortigern plans to have Arthur executed publicly to ensure that no one challenges his rule. However, Arthur is saved by a group of rebels led by Bedwyr, Uther's loyal general, and the Mage, a powerful sorceress allied with the resistance against Vortigern. After being rescued, Arthur is taken to the rebel hideout, where he begins to learn about his father and the true history of Camelot. The Mage guides Arthur on how to tap into the magic of Excalibur, but Arthur is reluctant. He doesn't want to accept the immense responsibility that comes with wielding the sword. Despite his reluctance, Arthur cannot ignore the bond he shares with Excalibur. The sword reacts to his emotions and instincts, but its power is overwhelming. Every time Arthur wields it, he is plagued with traumatic visions of his father's death and Vortigern's betrayal. These visions are disorienting, causing Arthur to doubt his abilities. The mage encourages Arthur to face these visions, believing that only by understanding his past can he control the sword's magic and fulfill his destiny. To help him understand his power, the mage takes Arthur to the Blacklands, a mystical and treacherous land filled with dark magic. The land is hostile, filled with dangerous creatures and magical illusions that test Arthur's strength. Arthur faces his father's murder over and over again in these visions, but each time he sees it, he learns something new. He starts to piece together the true story of Vortigern's betrayal, the pact with dark forces, and how his parents sacrificed themselves to give him a chance at survival. In the Blacklands, Arthur begins to understand the full potential of Excalibur. He learns how to control the sword's power, channeling its magic in bursts that allow him to move at superhuman speeds. The training helps Arthur become one with the sword, though he still struggles with fully controlling it. After returning from the Blacklands, Arthur and the rebels plan an assassination attempt on Vortigern with the help of Maggie, Vortigern's maid. However, Vortigern is aware of the betrayal and uses a decoy to trap them. During the escape from Vortigern's men, Arthur and his crew become trapped in Arthur's old training facility with his old trainer, George. An intense fight scene unfolds. The mage uses her powers to kill the archers on the roof, while Arthur and the others fight off the soldiers. As they become outnumbered, the soldiers try to kill the mage, compelling Arthur to use Excalibur's full power for the first time, destroying all of the attackers in a massive explosion of magic. However, Backlack is severely injured and traced back to their safe house. This leads to a pivotal moment where Vortigern confronts Arthur at the safe house. In a brutal confrontation, Vortigern kills Backlack, and Arthur barely escapes with Backlack's son, Blue. At this point, Arthur fully accepts his destiny. He realizes that the rebellion is not just about toppling a tyrant, it's about reclaiming his father's legacy and freeing the people of Camelot from fear and oppression. As Arthur plans to retake his kingdom, the rebels return to their camp, only to find it destroyed. The mage and Blue have been kidnapped, and Vortigern demands Arthur come to the castle if he wants to see them freed. Arthur decides to send Bedivere with Excalibur as a show of peace to free the mage, knowing he'll need her help to defeat Vortigern. In the final battle, Arthur and the rebels storm Vortigern's tower. The rebels break through the defenses, and Arthur confronts Vortigern inside the tower. Vortigern, having sacrificed his daughter in a final dark ritual, has transformed into a monstrous, magically enhanced being, almost unrecognizable. The final fight between Arthur and Vortigern is brutal and emotionally charged. Vortigern taunts Arthur with memories of his father's death, trying to break his spirit. But Arthur, now fully in control of Excalibur, fights back with everything he has. The battle is filled with magical explosions, superhuman sword fights, and devastating blows as the two clash for the fate of Camelot. In the end, Arthur overcomes Vortigern, using Excalibur to deliver the final, killing blow. As Vortigern's tower collapses in a massive explosion, the dark magic that held Camelot in fear is destroyed. With Vortigern defeated, Arthur reclaims his birthright and takes his place as King of Britain. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, like, comment, and subscribe to watch more recaps